This is me 10 years ago, and I was addicted to motivation. I'd spent hours scrolling through endless tabs of inspirational transformations, motivational speeches, and following every single physically fit person I could find. That might not sound that bad. We all need motivation to get started, right? Except this would always be followed by me waking up the next morning and doing absolutely nothing. And it wasn't until I changed the way I consumed this content that I was able to make any progress on my goals. The truth is, I wanted to make this video because I found myself creeping back into some of those old habits. This week specifically, I've been feeling a bit off. I recently committed to a cut that I've been documenting on the channel. And despite seeing some progress in how I look and also the reception it's getting on the channel, I still don't feel great, and I find myself doubting myself a lot. And after some internal reflection, I found that there's a pretty strong correlation between how I've been feeling and the amount of content that I've been consuming this past week. And the days I've felt worse happen to also be the days where my screen time is at its highest. Now, I'm obviously in a weird position when it comes to all this. I create content, specifically fitness content, myself. But I've come to realize that the focus should never be to eliminate it completely, but instead learn how I can use it to my advantage. So today, I want to share 3 ways that I'm using fitness content as a tool to empower me versus a crutch I depend on. The first one's centered around who you follow, and it's to turn aspirations into inspirations. When I started my journey, I would follow anyone and everyone with a 6-pack, and the more shredded, the better. What this was doing without me noticing was altering my standards and making them unrealistic and perfect. I'm a huge fan of the Creed movies, and I remember watching the second one with my sister. He has the famous montage scene where he goes from being at his lowest point and ending with him coming out looking the best he's looked the entire movie, flexing, yelling, all oiled up. And my sister telling me, oh my God, he's ripped. And me rolling my eyes and tell her, please, you can only see like 4 of his abs. Which I can understand now is an insane thing to say. But the reason I was saying it was because my standards were completely skewed. When we see these things online, we forget that there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. There's good lighting, genetics, steroid use, baby oil, editing, and so much more that goes on without us even knowing. The truth is, most of those people that you see online don't even look like that in person every day. To this day, I still have remnants of body dysmorphia, where sometimes I'll wake up, look in the mirror, and I feel like it looks like I haven't exercised in my entire life. And even though I've learned from these mistakes and limit how much I compare my body to others, it still pops up in other areas. For example, this week was a lot less about comparing my body to others and looking at likes, views, and success metrics. What I like to do nowadays, right before I find myself clicking follow on someone's account, is I take a second and ask myself, does this content make me want to aspire to be something or someone I'm not? Or is it inspiring me to become a better version of myself? If all I'm feeling when I look at someone's content is I want to be them, or I wish I could be them, or I wish I could look like them, there's not very much actions I can take from that. And it usually comes more from a place of I'm not enough, or I'm less than that person. Versus if it inspires me, it's a more positive feeling of if they did it despite X, Y, and Z, I think I can do it too. And I can foresee actions I can take to get there. The next one's tailored more around educational content within fitness. And it's to use them to inform you to take action, but not drown you out with facts. There's a quote, something along the lines of, the only way to avoid mistakes is to do nothing. But doing nothing is the worst mistake of all. Especially when first starting out, it's so easy to fall into analysis paralysis. Everyone has a unique workout split, a life-changing exercise, or a science-based variation that you should substitute for whatever you're currently doing. But what happened to me was I'd consume all of this information. I'd spend hours and hours looking at these videos, thinking I was being productive, researching how to do things, and then how to do them better. I'd then finish up hours later and realize I hadn't actually done anything, and I was usually more confused than when I had first started. So instead of falling down this rabbit hole, I'm prioritizing having a bias towards action. Find the information I need just to get started, take action, and then I can learn as I go. Perfect is the enemy of progress, and it's usually always better to learn as you go. Finally, we have transformations and motivational videos. I used to constantly fall in the trap of thinking I needed motivation in order to get up from my bed or put my sneakers on. I always saw it as the spark that would get the fire started. But what if I told you motivation isn't the spark? In his book, The Motivation Myth, Jeff Hayden challenges the notion that we need motivation in order to accomplish things and compares it instead to a sugar rush that never lasts. Not only does motivation not lead to action, it's actually the complete complete opposite, where action leads to the tiny doses of success that release dopamine that motivates us to continue taking action. He summarizes it pretty well in this quote. Motivation isn't the spark. Motivation is the fire that starts burning after you manually, painfully coax it into existence. It feeds on the satisfaction of seeing yourself make progress. So remember, action first. Chase those small wins. And pretty soon, we'll be watching your transformation video. Now, this is typically the part where I recommend another video that can help you while also helping me. But given the theme of today's video, I thought I'd switch things up by encouraging you to stop consuming today, despite whatever impact it has to my views or retention, yada yada. Go get something started, get a small win, check something off that to-do list. I'll follow my own advice and go do the same. Until next time, remember, progress over perfection.